The use of slave labor to build and serve the Academical Village is a central part of UVA's past, yet few of these spaces have a personalized commemoration of that history. Today, we take a closer look at Hotel A and how nothing around the building mentions what it was originally used for. Built in the early 1820s, Hotel A was rented out to hotel keepers who would charge students for services like food and laundry. These hotel keepers forced their slaves to cook, clean, and tend to the students living along West Range, with most of the slave labor being done in the basement of the hotel. The basement has since been renovated, with the kitchen and sleeping quarters becoming the office spaces for history professor Brian Owensby and anthropology professor Richard Handler. Without any form of commemoration, Professor Owensby says he makes sure to always inform visitors about the history of the building.
That one, but I have made a point from the very beginning of just having anyone who comes into the building for public events upstairs or for meetings down here to just let them know what the building is about.
Both professors still grapple with occupying a space that slaves cooked and slept in, but they're aware of their responsibility to confront that legacy through their own work.
It is a bit odd to come in every day knowing that this is the place where enslaved people worked.
It's a privilege to have this office, but I feel we occupy it with respect for the people who worked here before. I'm using this space to teach some of our students about the injustices that make our own privilege possible.
The main form of commemoration that exists today is a pamphlet that is paired with a mobile app that details the slave history of sites around grounds. But unless you know to look for it, you could walk in and out of Hotel A without ever knowing that slaves were forced to work there. And this leaves students like fourth-year university guide Jillian Randolph with a completely different experience from students who don't know the history.
Students can walk into these spaces and not feel anything, but I'm walking in and I feel so much, and having to interact in that space without people necessarily realizing what that space is, I think it does weigh a little bit.
University landscape architect Mary Hughes served on the President's Commission on Slavery in the university. She explains that the commission needed to identify its major goals, like the memorial to enslaved laborers, and that commemorating the individual spaces wasn't among them.
I guess the commission had certain priorities for their work. The interpretation of Hotel A and the other existing sites just was not in the top priority.
But this isn't because commemorating these spaces wasn't important to the commission. It's because there's no easy answer for what the most effective way to memorialize these sites is.
There needs to be some time and effort given to resolve, what is the best way to present this information.
You have this opportunity to educate your students outside the classroom with learning that's just a part of their daily lives.
In its final report, the Commission recommended the future implementation of interpretive panels at sites like Hotel A around grounds, but there is no timeline for when that might happen. The university is set to complete the memorial to enslaved laborers in March of 2019. Hopefully, this memorial will help you remember that enslaved laborers built this university, but the lack of current plans to commemorate the individual spaces means you just won't know their stories.